Y'all, stop everything you're doing right now, because the whispers coming out of the neighborhood are saying that somebody just rammed a whole vehicle through the front security gate of Beyonce and Jay Z's East Hampton estate. And honey, the timing of this thing is so suspicious it will make your neck snap. Supposedly, and I do mean supposedly, this happened on a quiet weekday, at speed, with a full smash into the mechanical gate that guards the front of the Carter compound. And now the chatter in that zip code is saying this was not some random confused senior citizen taking a wrong turn. Folks are circling back and saying this looks like karma with a license plate. And baby, the reason everybody is thinking that way has one word attached to it. And that word is Rihanna. Because you already know what happened at Rihanna's house not long ago. And you already know how quiet everybody got about it. And you already know that a whole lot of people in the culture have been sitting on their hands waiting to see if the universe was going to send a receipt to the Carters. Well, folks, the receipt may have just arrived, and it arrived through the front gate at 60 miles an hour. Now, before y'all run to the comments, let me back this up though, because I want to walk you through exactly what happened, and I want to walk you through why this so-called accident is bothering the whole timeline, and I want to walk you through the Rihanna connection that nobody in mainstream media is willing to touch. This story is bigger than a broken gate, y'all. This story is about a shift in the air around Beyonce and Jay Z that has been building for months, and this crash may be the thing that finally cracks it wide open. So sit tight, hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you're new, and let's get into it, because Beyonce and Jay Z did not sign up for this kind of Monday. Here's what we know so far. According to reports out of the East Hampton Village Police Department, a 63-year-old man behind the wheel of a Subaru drove at what officers are describing as a high rate of speed straight through the closed mechanical gate of the Carter estate. The gate, y'all, was shut. It was not open. It was not partially open. It was closed, and this man plowed through it hard enough to cause significant damage to the entire entrance of the property. Security personnel were on site, and this is where the story gets a little movie-like, because those security officers reportedly confronted the driver and got him to step out of the vehicle before the police even pulled up. Think about that for a second. Beyonce and Jay Z have private security so tight that the man who breached their perimeter was already out of his car and standing on their driveway before local law enforcement arrived. That tells you everything you need to know about the level of protection around that compound, and it tells you exactly how serious this was. The 63-year-old was later arrested and charged with criminal mischief and criminal trespass. And here is where the story starts to get sideways, because investigators are saying the man appeared confused. He allegedly made no threats. He allegedly did not mention Beyonce, did not mention Jay Z, did not have any weapons in the car, did not have any notes, did not have any manifesto, did not have anything on him that would suggest a targeted attack. On the surface, it looks like a medical episode or a mental health crisis, and law enforcement has openly said they cannot yet determine whether the estate itself was intentionally targeted. But check this though, because that is not the whole picture. That is not even half the picture. Because the police also used license plate reader technology to trace this man's movements before the crash, and what they found is what has the entire internet whispering karma, karma, karma. Because supposedly, this man did not just wander into East Hampton by accident. Supposedly, this man had been driving around the East Hampton area for hours. Hours, y'all, with an S on the end. Circling, lingering, passing houses, doing loops in the very neighborhood where Beyonce and Jay Z live. And on top of that, earlier that same day, he reportedly approached another nearby residence and asked whoever was inside about a woman before leaving without incident. Now let that sink in for a second, y'all. Because if this man was as confused as they're saying he was, how did he manage to drive around for hours without hitting anything, without getting pulled over, without causing a scene, and then only crash at the exact moment he arrived at the Carter estate? That is either the wildest coincidence in the history of the Hamptons, or something else was going on in that Subaru. And moving right along, I'm going to tell you what a whole lot of people are quietly saying about it. Because folks are circling back and saying this looks like karma for what happened to Rihanna. And if you know, you know, and if you do not know, let me refresh the memory. Not long ago, Rihanna's residence was compromised in a way that was frankly terrifying, and the mainstream media hushed that story faster than they hush a bill in Congress. There was a full house of people there at the time. Rihanna had family. She had loved ones. She had folks visiting. And whatever went down at that property could have hurt somebody in a serious way. But when it came time for the culture to talk about it, when it came time for the industry to protect one of the biggest stars on the planet, the whole conversation just evaporated. And a lot of us noticed. A lot of us noticed the way the news cycle just skipped over it. A lot of us noticed the arrest, and a lot of us noticed that the person they picked up looked more like a fall guy than an architect. Because let me tell y'all something the culture already knows. They always get the fall guy. They got a fall guy in the Dolph situation. They got a fall guy in a whole lot of situations. But the people who pay the fall guys, the people who point at the house, the people who write the check, those people never see a courtroom. Honey, those people go to brunch. And here's what really has me sideways, y'all. Right before Rihanna's house was breached, there was a whole undercurrent of talk on the timeline that Rihanna had been quietly beefing with Beyonce. The chatter in that zip code was saying that Rihanna and Beyonce had cooled off, that there was tension, that there was something in the air, and specifically, folks were saying there was a man in the middle of it. A man, a man, a man, a man. And you already know which man I am talking about. Not naming names, but you know. And there were folks saying that a certain family was working overtime to force Rihanna and Beyonce to be publicly friendly again, and to make Rihanna show her face at the events, and to make Rihanna get back in line with the roster, and to make Rihanna smile in the pictures, and to make Rihanna quiet down. And then, right after that, a whole vehicle rolls up to Rihanna's residence and does what it did. And then, all of a sudden, Rihanna is on stage with Jay Z at that big performance. And then, all of a sudden, Rihanna is at the fashion show sitting next to Beyonce. And then, all of a sudden, Rihanna is smiling for the cameras like nothing ever happened. So y'all, that's a whole other movie, and I said what I said. Because to me, that timeline looks less like reconciliation and more like a re-education. So when I heard this morning that somebody just crashed through the Carter's front gate at high speed, in a way that has never happened before at that property, at a time when everybody in the culture has been quietly wondering whether the Carters were going to have to answer for what happened to Rihanna's house, my whole spirit said one word, and that word was karma. Because you cannot dish it out and expect it not to come back, y'all. You cannot. That is not how the universe works. That is not how the block works. That is not how the game works. If reports are true and the Carter estate was in fact targeted, then somebody out here is sending a message, and that message is loud, and that message came in a Subaru. Now, I have to be fair, because I always try to give both sides. It is entirely possible that this 63-year-old man is going through a medical episode. It happens. People with diabetic issues, people with blood pressure spikes, people in the early stages of cognitive decline, people with a medication imbalance. Those things can absolutely cause somebody to drive erratically, to circle a neighborhood, to feel disoriented, and to eventually crash. That is real, and I am not going to sit here and dismiss it. Investigators have openly said they are still looking into whether a medical condition played a part in this whole thing, and until the medical records come out, we cannot pretend to know for sure. But here's what I keep coming back to, y'all. He was speeding. He was driving for hours. He knocked on another door earlier that day, asking about a woman. He drove past homes with less security. And then he ended his day by ramming through the private mechanical gate of two of the most famous people on this planet. That is a lot of coincidences to stack in one sentence. That is a lot. And when you stack too many coincidences on the same day, in the same zip code, at the same estate, you stop calling it a coincidence, and you start calling it a pattern. Check this too, y'all. It is unknown whether Beyonce or Jay Z were even at home when the crash happened, and honestly, based on where they have been all week, I'm going to go ahead and say they were not. Because these two have not sat down in weeks. Beyonce is out here running from stage to stage, trying to keep her machine spinning. Jay Z is out here trying to keep his hand in every deal, every negotiation, every business room he can get into. Because the whispers coming out of the money side of the industry are saying that Jay Z's bag is not as heavy as the public thinks it is. Supposedly, the Carter empire has been leaking a little bit at the edges, and supposedly, Jay Z has been chasing checks in a way that he did not have to chase them 5 years ago, and supposedly, the couple has had to get creative with their real estate holdings. In fact, folks online are already asking whether the East Hampton estate is the same property that was rumored to be tied up in a second mortgage situation. I am not going to confirm that, because we are still waiting on the paperwork, but the fact that the rumor is even out there tells you the vibes around the Carter finances right now. So no, they were not home. They were out here trying to stay relevant, trying to stay printed, trying to stay in the check flow, and their front gate was being introduced to a Subaru. Now let me tell you what really made me laugh though, and this is why the comment section is a full national treasure. Because within minutes of this story breaking, y'all had every comment section on the internet screaming the same 3 words, and those 3 words were, "It was Dame." Y'all, it was Dame. Not naming names. But the timeline instantly decided that the mysterious 63-year-old man in the Subaru was in fact Dame Dash, arriving at last to have a conversation with his former business partner. Now let me be clear, this is not confirmed, this is not real, this is a joke. This is the culture using humor to cope. But the reason the joke landed is because everybody knows the tension between Jay Z and Dame has been simmering for 2 decades and has never truly cooled off. And the fact that the entire internet immediately went there tells you exactly how the culture reads a story like this. The culture does not read this as random. The culture reads this as unfinished business finally cashing in. Now folks, remember, the couple bought this East Hampton spread back in 2017, and neither Beyonce nor Jay Z has said one public word about the crash. Not one. Not a statement. Not a story on social media. Not a comment through a rep. Nothing. And that silence is loud, y'all. Because if this really was just a confused old man having a bad day, you would have expected a quick statement wishing him well and confirming that everybody at the estate was safe. Something soft, something PR approved, something to move on from. But instead we got a wall of silence. And a wall of silence from the Carters usually means one thing. They're already in the back rooms trying to figure out how big this actually is. They're already asking the questions the rest of us are asking. Who is this man? Where was he really going? Who did he speak to earlier that day? What was he doing in East Hampton for hours before the crash? And most importantly, was somebody paying him? And that brings me back to the pattern, y'all. Because Rihanna's house being breached and now the Carter gate being smashed by a random driver in the same season is not something the culture is going to let go of. There is a shift happening in black celebrity right now. A shift in who is on top. A shift in who is protected. A shift in who is being told to stay in their lane. And this stuff, this violent boundary crossing stuff, this driving through fences stuff, is not coincidence. Supposedly, there are people in the industry who have been pushed too far. Supposedly, there are people who have watched their loved ones be shoved back into rooms they wanted to leave. Supposedly, there are people who are done being quiet. And supposedly, one of the ways they are choosing to speak now is with vehicles and gates and license plate readers and messages that do not need words. I am not saying that is what happened at the Carter estate. I am not saying it. I am just saying that the pattern is there, and the pattern is loud, and the pattern started with Rihanna. Now picture this scene for a second. Picture the private security team standing at the smashed front gate of the East Hampton estate. Picture the 63-year-old getting out of his Subaru with his hands up. Picture the security officers and earpieces already on the phone to the East Hampton Village PD. Picture a call being made simultaneously to a certain team of people in another state, telling them what just happened at the property. And now picture Beyonce finding out. Not through a text, not through a headline, through a phone call from a trusted assistant. Picture the look on her face. Picture the deep breath. Picture the wheels starting to turn about how this news is going to be managed, contained, and buried within 48 hours. Because that is exactly what is happening right now. That is exactly what the Carter machine is doing. And that is exactly why we, the culture, have to keep talking about it. Because if we do not keep talking about it, it will disappear. Just like Rihanna's story disappeared. Just like a whole lot of stories disappear. And on that note, let me be honest with you, because I do not want to sit up here and pretend I have all the answers. It is possible that this man really was suffering from a medical episode. It is possible that his family will come out later this week and say he has been struggling for years and drove off in a state of confusion. It is possible that this whole thing is exactly as innocent as the official statement says it is. That is possible, and I am willing to sit with that possibility. But I am also willing to sit with the possibility that somebody out here paid a man with a clean record and a Subaru to circle the neighborhood, ask a decoy question at another house to establish a confused old man alibi, and then plow into the front of the Carter estate at high speed as a message. That is also possible. That is also on the table. And until we get more information, both of those things are on the table, and we do not have to pick a lane yet. But what we do know, y'all, is that the streets are watching. The streets have been watching Beyonce, and the streets have been watching Jay Z, and the streets have been paying attention to how they have handled Rihanna, and how they have handled the tension in the friend group, and how they have handled the money side, and how they have handled the public narrative, and the streets have not been impressed. Not for a while now. Because the culture that made Beyonce and Jay Z is the same culture that will withdraw the crown the moment they feel like the crown is being worn wrong. And whispers on the block are saying the crown has been wobbling for a minute. Supposedly, allegedly, on the low, but wobbling. So here is where I land after all of this, y'all. I do not know for a fact whether this crash was targeted. I do not know for a fact whether this 63-year-old man was hired, confused, or just having the worst day of his life. What I do know is that when a story sounds this off, and a pattern lines up this cleanly, and a household this famous suddenly gets its front gate demolished in a way that has never happened before, you do not have to be a detective to feel that the universe is trying to say something. You just have to be paying attention. And a whole lot of us have been paying attention for a long time. And a whole lot of us feel like we are watching the beginning of a season where the Carters are going to have to answer for some things they have been avoiding. And the first sign of that season was a Subaru meeting a mechanical gate at 60 miles an hour. Let me leave y'all with this. There is a saying my auntie used to tell me on the porch back in the day. What is done in the dark eventually pulls up in the driveway. I never fully understood that saying until this week. Because whatever went down at Rihanna's house, and whatever went down between Rihanna and Beyonce, and whatever went down in that whole friend group behind closed doors, it is starting to feel like all of it is being answered right now in real time, and Beyonce and Jay Z are the first ones getting the mail. That is not me being messy. That is me being observant. And I would rather be observant and wrong than asleep and right. So now I need y'all to tell me what you actually think, because I know some of you have opinions, and I know some of you have receipts, and I know some of you have been keeping score for years. Is this crash pure coincidence, a confused senior citizen with bad luck and a bad medical day? Or is this the first crack in a much larger karmic bill that Beyonce and Jay Z have been avoiding since the day Rihanna's house was breached and everybody went quiet? Drop your read in the comments, because I need to hear it, and be honest, because I do not censor y'all in here. Also, tell me this. If it is confirmed later this week that this 63-year-old man had a connection to somebody in the industry, do y'all think that news will actually make it to the mainstream? Or do y'all think it will get buried the same way Rihanna's story got buried? I want to know what the streets are saying, and I want to know what your gut is telling you, because your gut has been right more than the news has been right this year. And if you have not hit that like button yet, please do that for me, because these are the videos the algorithm does not want to boost, and every like helps this story reach one more person who deserves to know about the pattern. Share it with your group chat. Send it to your cousin who thinks I make this stuff up. Send it to your friend who still thinks the Carters can do no wrong. Let them read it for themselves. And subscribe with that notification bell turned on, because I am staying on this story every single day this week. And the moment I hear another whisper about who this 63-year-old man really was, where he was really going, and who he may or may not have been on the phone with earlier that day, y'all will be the first ones to know. Not the second, the first. Because at the end of the day, y'all, the front gate of the biggest household in black entertainment just got demolished by a stranger in a Subaru, and the biggest household in black entertainment does not want to talk about it. And that silence, honey, that silence right there, is the loudest thing I have heard all year. And one more thing before I let y'all go, because I know some of you are going to hit these comments swearing up and down that I am reaching, and I want to address that directly. I am not reaching y'all. I am connecting dots that the mainstream media does not want connected. Because if this was any other celebrity couple, any other Hamptons estate, any other confused 63-year-old man in a Subaru, the story would already be everywhere. But because it is Beyonce and Jay Z, and because Beyonce and Jay Z control an enormous amount of press through their PR machine and their relationships with certain outlets, the story is being managed in real time. Watch the next 48 hours, y'all. Watch how quickly the coverage of this crash quiets down. Watch how quickly Beyonce pops up somewhere doing a photo op that has nothing to do with East Hampton. Watch how quickly Jay Z pops up in a business room somewhere with a smile that says everything is fine. That is the Carter machine at work, and once you learn how to spot it, you cannot unspot it. And let me say one more thing about Rihanna, because Rihanna is the reason a whole lot of us are even sitting up on this Carter story in the first place. I want Rihanna safe. I want Rihanna free. I want Rihanna to be able to walk out of her own house without looking over her shoulder. I want Rihanna to be able to speak her mind without worrying about who might be listening. And if the situation that happened at Rihanna's house was in any way tied to the friend group tension, in any way tied to the industry pressure to keep Rihanna in her lane, in any way tied to Beyonce, Jay Z, or anybody in the Carter orbit, then that is something the culture deserves to know. And the culture is not going to stop asking about it just because Beyonce and Jay Z would prefer that we did. So yes, when I heard that this Subaru went straight through the Carter gate, I thought about Rihanna. I thought about Rihanna's family that was inside her home the day her property was compromised. I thought about how quiet everybody went. And I thought, well, look who is on the receiving end of the driveway conversation this time. It does not feel good, does it, Beyonce? It does not feel safe, does it, Jay Z? Not so easy to hush a story when it is your gate on the ground, is it? And I am not celebrating the crash, because I never celebrate a crash. But I am absolutely watching. And I am absolutely listening. And I am absolutely going to be paying attention to every word Beyonce and Jay Z do or do not say about this in the coming week, because their silence and their body language and their carefully staged pop-ups are going to tell us everything we need to know about what really happened at that gate. So take care of yourselves out there. Keep your ears to the block. Keep your eyes on the timeline. Watch how the Beyonce and Jay Z team plays this over the next few days, and I will see you in the next one. Peace and love, always. Peace.